Okay, so we're finally up to the halachos of the seder. So again, the structure is Perek Zion is the theoretics, Perek Tes is the practical, and then after is the Nusach HaHaggadah. Okay, and it's interesting that he chooses that in general because one of the questions we're going to have is when we go through the theoretics, like he doesn't do that in general. Like he just has the halachos of stuff. He doesn't walk you through how to do it, except maybe in the Seder Avodas Yom Kippur. I mean, even there, I don't even know if he has two I can't remember. But what was that?
It's not. That's pretty long in detail.
It is, yeah, it is. But Rambam doesn't care about length so much.
Right.
He'll write how much he needs, as long as with 1,000 chapters. But what I was going to say, oh yeah, so we have to be on the lookout for differences in Zion and Ches, and then if we have time after this, then maybe we'll go through like the actual in the Rambam Siddur what the Haggadah is because he brings in other stuff, and yeah, we'll see where it takes us. Okay, so right away we have in Halacha Aleph Mitzvah Aseh Shel Torah L'Sapir B'Nifim V'Niflaot Shenasu La'oseinu B'Mitzrayim B'Leil Chamisha Asar B'Nisan. So it is a positive commandment of the Torah to tell. Yeah.
What is Shel Torah?
As opposed to
Mitzvah say.
Oh, does he not usually say Shel Torah?
He did say Minotaur last time.
Yeah. Let me look at. Let me look at Kriyat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Kriyat and then Tefillah. I mean, you can look anywhere really. I'm just looking there because it's.
Well,
Oh, so yeah. So it's not for Kriyat Shema. Mine b'chol yom koren Kriyat Shema.
Okay.
That's even funny. It's not even mitzvah to say. Okay.
no,
What?
Shofar. Yeah. Which one? Shell. Yeah.
It's not of evil Nepalita, he says. Mitzvah say Minha Torah.
Okay. Yeah. In Philo of Yerushalayim, mitzvah say lehitz palal b'chol yom. What did he say about matzah in the previous paragraph?
Wait, what's like the practical difference between like
That's the secret. Yeah. No, it's just a nuance. Yeah, I don't think there's any real difference.
Okay.
I mean, far be it for me to say. I'll have to ask Ron when I die, but if I'm Zokan, but yeah.
You say there's no difference, you'd be like, that guy doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting though that the Shel Torah does parallel closer to Shel Divrayim, but then he also has a Mit Divrei Sofrim though, so I don't
He
know.
did say mid, yeah. He doesn't say Shell difference over.
He doesn't?
Mid
Mit Divrei Sofrim, yeah. Wait, what did I just say?
He might have said mid difference. Still mid difference.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna find someone who makes a chart,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, side point. I thought this was hilarious. So you know how we use in Mishlei the Robert Alter translation. So someone made a spreadsheet of his introductions to his translation of every book on Tanakh, and every first sentence is like, "There's no book more unique than Sefer Mitzvah." No book has such a peculiar style of telling. Like Sefer Malachim is outstanding, and it was really funny. Yeah. Okay.
This is a say beating circle on you.
Yeah. I
Yep.
don't know. Yeah. See, that's the type of thing that I'm comfortable saying. Like maybe it doesn't matter, and I really hesitate to say that with the Rambam. Like certainly it does. A lot of stuff like that matters. Here, I'm inclined to say it doesn't, but I can't prove it.
Right.
I really just don't know what Shel Torah means.
Of the Torah, as opposed to from the Torah.
Like from is saying Torah is the cause of this, and of the Torah is saying it's like included in.
I feel like there are like 10 different options we could say to make distinctions like that, Yeah, it's.
I think we should spend the next 2 weeks on that.
Yeah.
Go through all 248.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Okay. Mitzvah say Shel Torah l'Sapir b'Nisim v'Niflaos Shenatu l'Oseinu B'Mitzrayim. We read that. So the mitzvah say of the Torah to tell about of the miracles and wonders that were done for our fathers in Egypt on the night of the 15th of Nisan. Shenemar, as it says, here's something we're going to dwell on probably today. Zachor es hayom hazeh asher yitzasem miMitzrayim. You shall remember this day that you left from Egypt. Shenemar, as it is stated, Zachor es yom hashabbos lekadsho. As it is stated, you should remember the Shabbos day to sanctify it. Okay. Uminayin shabalacha misha asar. How do we know that it's on the 15th, the night of the 15th? Tam lomar, because the pasuk says, "V'higarta lebincha bayom hahu." You shall tell your son on that day, lemor, saying, "Bavur zeh," because of this. And the rest of the pasuk is, "Bavur zeh asal li Hashem, asal Hashem li b'tzeis Mitzrayim." Hashem did so for me when I went out of Egypt. B'shah sheyesh matzah umara munach chlim lefnacha. At a time when matzah and maror are resting before you. Yeah. So the big question is, why is it compared to Shabbos? Yeah.
I think the person needs not more.
So that right. So I kind of want to look at that pasuk in where is it, in Yud Gimel Ches, just to see it in context here. I'm not going to get it Tanakh, but I'm just going to look it up on my screen. So if you want to see it inside, you can. If you want to be an ignoramus, you can do that too.
You get to not so novel.
Okay, so
What, you only got one?
I didn't say if you don't want to be ignorant. I didn't mention Baal Chesed. Yeah,
Is it not right here?
that's one we just got.
Oh.
Sure, you're making.
Things appear when I need them.
Please don't.
Oh, that's enough right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Might not be an ignorant, but
Okay. Yud Gimel, Perek Yud Gimel Shemos is where we are at. Yeah, and I guess it appears to start from. Well, okay, we should actually, we all need to knock. I'll get them.
It looks like both are picking on here, so.
Well, don't we feel stupid now? Thank you.
Oh, wait.
I was gonna look on my phone.
Okay, yeah, you give them from the beginning. I think would be good for us to do.
Oh, it's actually the proper thing.
Yeah, imagine that.
Sounds like
I was just gonna say, I guess God knows how to make filling. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then I realized I didn't know where the filling breaks were, but
it's Kinesis before, and they have Kiwi.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So pasuk Aleph. Yeah. V'diber Hashem al Moshe lemor. Kadesh li kol b'chor Petra kol rechem b'vnei Yisrael b'adam uvabahima lihu. Right. So sanctify for me every firstborn, everything that opens the womb, or first issue of the womb, I guess is how they say it, among the children of Israel, of man and beast, it is mine. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am. So this is our first pasuk. Moshe said to the people. Oh, this is such a weird thing, by the way. Right. So Hashem tells him. Were we talking about this, or did we just allude to talking about it? Were you asking me about the Arba Banim and how it doesn't correspond?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did. Okay, yeah. So we
listen to a share.
oh yeah? Yeah. So the I don't know what conversation we were having, but the question is like, yeah, I feel like it was when we were walking out on Wednesday night after the Haggadah thing. We were talking about it. Yeah.
I wanted about the art button.
Yeah.
I wanted to know why.
Wow. So this is a conversation about a conversation about a conversation that we didn't have. So so the conversation we're talking about here is the Arba Banim. The questions that they ask, if you look at them in context, are very different than the way that they are in the Haggadah, and the answers, everything just doesn't make sense contextually. So
like the questions are in the psukim, and different responses are.
Yeah. So this is one of the weird things here, is that this pasuk, Hashem gives Moshe one instruction, which is sanctify the firstborns, right? And then when Moshe tells us to the people, this is how he says it. Remember this day that you went out from Egypt, from the house of slavery. Because with a strong hand Hashem removed you from this, and chametz shall not be eaten. Today, oh, by the way, this was today. This is on the 15th of, presumably this is on the 15th of Nisan, right? Because the previous parak is when Makas Bechoros happened. Today you were going out in the month of spring. V'haya ki yaviacha ad Hashem el eretz haKnani v'achiti v'hamori v'hasivi v'yivuti asher nishba le'lavasech halachos lach. When God brings you into land with all these guys to give to you eretz avaskal of dvash, land flowing with milk and honey. V'avadta es avodah zot b'chodesh zeh. You shall do this service in this month, and the service is presumably the bechoros, right? Because he hasn't mentioned Korban Pesach or anything. Shivas yamim tochal matzos. For 7 days you should eat matzos. Oh, sorry.
Wait, you said yeah. Doesn't it say before?
Oh, you're right. It's not. Yeah, you're right. So this is Korban Pesach then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah. So the hazeh is going to be going on. So the avodah hazot is going to be this. What he's about to say then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Like the following avodah.
Yeah. Don't schedule all your bechoros to be born on Chodesh. That's really hard. Shivat yamim tochal matzos. On the 7 days you should eat matzos. V'yom hashavi chag Hashem, and on the 7th day is a chag for Hashem. Matzos ye'achel shivat yamim. Matzos shall be eaten 7 days, for 7 days. Lo yirah elcha chametz, and chametz shall not be seen for you. Lo yirah elcha or b'chol guvelecha, and chametz shall not be, and or shall not be seen for you in all of your boundaries. And you shall tell your son on that day, saying, so that's our second part of the Rambam quote. Hashem did for me when I went out from Egypt. So the zeh, well, it looks like it's matzah, right? Although it's weird because it's matzos, but whatever. But matzos. So that's where they're getting the zeh from, that because of matzah. And I think if you look at, double burn now. If you look at Rashi, which half of you have, my half, I think Rashi says, in fact, it might not be a Rashi. This might be a phantom Rashi. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Rashi says, "Bavur zeh." It's a short Rashi. It's okay. You can get it both back. Bavur she'ekayim mitzvotzav kagon pesach umata umar halalu. So that's pshat, because he is talking about many mitzvos, you know. But the idea, the pshat of the pasuk is God took you out of Egypt for the sake of this, for the sake of these mitzvos. So that's the drasha here. That going back to the Rambam for 1 second, or not for 1 second, but more than 1 second. So according to the Rambam in the Mishnah Torah, you learn out the mitzvah of Sipur from Zachoras Yom Hazeh, but you don't know when it is. So the when is addressed by B'higadat Levincha, which it's implied that that is the same mitzvah, because otherwise, what does one have to do with the other?
Right.
And saying you do Higadat Levincha at a time when you can say Bavur zeh, which is at a time when matzah and mar are resting in front of you, which is only on the night of the 15th, because that's when you're chayav in matzah.
Why can you just say he got it to him?
So this is the problem which I mentioned when we did the Sefer Mitzvos. In the Sefer Mitzvos, he learns it out the other way. He learns the essential mitzvah out from Higadat Levincha, and then he learns how do you know. So Higadat Levincha is only when you have a son. How do you know even when you don't have a son? That's Zachoras Yom Hazeh. So that's one of the classic questions on this Rambam of what is the source of the mitzvah and what is a detail, you know, and there's the two different versions here. Yeah. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Yeah. But then the other question is, what's the comparison to Shabbos? Because apparently the Rambam, this drasha that he says of comparing it to Shabbos is not found in any of like Bavli or Yerushalmi. There is something similar to it in the Mechilta, but it's not like that's one of the questions. Is it sounds like the Rambam was like making up his own thing, and it's also unclear why he has to compare it to Shabbos at all.
Right.
So we should do what countless generations have done before us, which is look at the mitzvah of Kiddush, because that's what Zachoras Yom Shabbos is, and we don't have to work on it, but I think it's important for Bekius. So if we get to the page first, get that. It's in Shabbos Perek Test. I think Test.
This is the thing the Torah says Yom Shabbos to burn.
Minhor, interesting. Yeah. I just got to get it on the screen here.
We're not
Is it? This gives me yeah.
Aren't you like a computer programmer? Can you write a program to just find all the mitzvahs in the Mishnah Torah and then compare them? Do it.
Can you fix my phone?
What he says actually the thing.
We're probably.
We used to I think Ken might have been the first computer science guy in yeshiva, in this, you know. And I remember when people used to ask him to fix stuff, and he would say like, that's not what we do. And people would say, what do you do? And his response would be, I make internets. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So mitzvahs of say, we got it?
Yeah.
All right. Mitzvahs of say min haTorah, l'kadesh yom haShabbos b'devarim. So it is a positive command from the Torah to sanctify the Shabbos day with words. Shneimar, as it is stated, zachor es yom haShabbos l'kacho. You shall sanctify the Shabbos day. You shall remember the Shabbos day to sanctify it. Lomar, meaning to say, zochrehu zachiras. Now, what does your next word say?
Shabbat.
Shavach. Okay. You have a footnote there? What does mine say? Okay, good. No, because I've seen versions of the Rambam. Oh yeah, you're gonna look there? Okay, yeah. I've seen versions that say Zachiras Shabbos. Shevach makes a lot more sense to me. Zachiras Shevach v'kiddush is remember it or recall it in a manner of praise and sanctification.
127.
No one cares.
Yeah. It's the phrase of your
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the phrase the first Shabbat Kiddush.
Yeah. Oh, so it does say Shavach. Okay, so it must be some other gear stuff. You have to recall it with a recollection of praise and sanctification. You need to recall it in its entry and its departure. In its entry with Kiddush, what we call Kiddush Hayom, and when it leaves, you remember with Havdalah. Yeah. So the question is like, how does Zachor Es Hayom Hazeh translate? First of all, I mean, okay, this is the real question. Some years I only get stuck on this question and never progress past this, which is like, what is the nature of the mitzvah of Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? Because we call it Sipur, we call it Haggadah, and now the Rambam's calling it Zechira. And they all seem like very different, you know? And then he compares it to Shabbos, which is like even more specific. You don't do Sipur Ma'aseh Bereshis on Shabbos.
Right.
You know?
And do you have a Havdalah type thing?
No. Yeah, that is interesting also. You could start at B'Torah Baltosif if you want. Havdalah Pesach. Yeah. Make a ceremony. Yeah.
You ceremony where you like buy pizza and like
Yeah.
Before.
not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the most conservative, not with a capital C, but the most conservative interpretation of the comparison here. Conservative with a movement would be capital C.
Any of them.
Any of them, yeah. Yeah, it's not a movement. The most conservative interpretation of the Rambam here is that he's just saying that the Zechira has to be verbal. Like with Shabbos it is, you know what I mean? It's not Zachar B'Lev, it's Zachar B'Peh. Still is weird though.
It's like a recounting.
Recounting, yeah. Yeah, verbal
I think
recollection.
he doesn't do this by like a month. Maybe he does.
I think he does, right?
He does just like before.
Zachar B'Peh and Al Tishbach B'Lev.
No, he says that, but does he compare it to Shabbos?
No, he doesn't. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, but the difference though is that I don't think the Rambam, it does not seem like the Rambam holds that the Zechira Samalik is like a formal declaration like Kiddush is. I don't know if that answers the question, you know? Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, yeah, so that's just that's the question that we have here, just to keep on the back burner. The back burner is going to get crowded because I think, unlike what we do in other areas of the Rambam, I think like, I don't know how far we're going to get. I mean, we're going to get through everything, but it's a question of what we're going to want to focus on. So like keep the back burners firing on all four cylinders, whatever the metaphor is.
2 cylinders. 2 in the front, 2 in the back.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Unless the Kupach, in which case it only has 1
Oh
cylinder.
no. All right. Next halakha. Unless we want to talk more about this. I mean, I'm oh yeah. Well, the halakhic answer to the question, I mean, just not answer, but the fact is, Sipur is not dependent on Korban Pesach, right? The time is apparently. That sounds like it's saying. You mean, you're practically speaking, if you didn't have matzah, would you still do Sipur? How literally do we take this drasha? Well, yeah, meaning it is a different setup than most. Yeah, meaning most mitzvot the zman is dependent on the day. Here, the day brings into existence matzah, and then your chiyuv sipur is at the time when matzah exists.
Well, he's not. He hasn't really talked about Pesach at all.
Yeah.
Pesach is like.
But also, I don't think it is not dependent on the Shah Shish Korban Pesach Lefanacha. I mean, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of like the way the Sukkim read, the Zeh is specifically on matzah because that's the Sukkim mentioned matzah. They don't mention Zeh.
Yeah.
And you think about avoid that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mara is the way that slips in there. Yeah. Because the pasuk didn't mention Mara. Yeah, but the avodah is not even. Yeah, it's not even Korban Pesach. The avodah is not Korban Pesach. I mean, sorry, it's not Hilchos Chametz.
Got more sushi. I don't need sushi. Don't get me involved.
If you need to get sushi, I mean, certain things override Torah. You know, Megillah and yeah.
No, I thought we said earlier that when the prophet said,
Well, that's what I'm not sure about, because the avodas HaPesach is not the same thing as the achilas HaPesach, unless you count it as part of the. I mean, I don't know enough about Quran to say it. To me, that doesn't make sense, but I don't really know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear the question though. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. V'alpa pi she'ein lo bein. Now he says, even though he doesn't have a son, afilu chachamim gedolim. Yeah, we're on Aleph 2. Afilu chachamim gedolim, even great wise people, hayavim l'saber b'Yetzias Mitzrayim, are obligated to tell of the Yetzias Mitzrayim. Kol marek b'dvarim she'iru v'shahayu harzim meshubach. And the more a person marich, really, literally, how do you translate marich? Lengthens, right? Yeah, it's not chol hamarbe, not the more one increases, or like mosif, like in the Sipur Mitzvah it is mosif, but it means like there's a kiyum going a long time, I guess, which is borne out by the Haggadah, because like they do it all night. The longer a person elaborates on these shi'ru v'shahayu in terms of what happened and what was, hard to be the more praiseworthy. Yeah, that's also an interesting structure of the mitzvah, that you usually don't have that formulation of the more the merrier, you know?
Right.
Even by tefillah, where you do midoraisa have the permission to go as long or short as you want, you don't say the longer you daven, then the better it is. There's no rule like that. So here you do.
Also, just a general question.
Yeah.
I forgot. We definitely know about this, but the periods in these Rambams. What are the periods?
I think they're editor things. I think I don't think periods. I don't even know if periods were invented in the 1200s.
Okay, but they're not even.
I don't know. I know commas weren't, and question marks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah. Yeah. Why did you see a weird period?
No. I mean, the whole amount is it after periods.
Oh, Mechol Marach, yeah. Yeah. If you look at Mechol Mamre, they're like trigger happy with commas. They throw in commas like whenever. I feel like when the person breathed when they were typing it in, they just like put a comma there. It's very frustrating for someone who is sensitive to overuse of commas, such as myself. You know.
It's like I think like the advice that like middle schoolers are given when
They're
anytime there's any like
terrified.
Yeah.
They didn't hear the mitzvah about God only gives you a certain amount of commas to use in your life, and once you use them, that's it. Yeah.
See, that's why I never use commas.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that it's interesting because he says that point later. Yeah. I mean, it's just obviously in lo bain, but not when you're by yourself at this point, right? Yeah. So it does sound like it is a reaction to the drasha, though, right? Because v'higarta lebincha, meaning if we just had zachor, you wouldn't know when you're supposed to do it. So then that's what brought up the higarta lebincha. And then Higad Labincha only says to your son, how do you know if you don't have a son? He doesn't bring a proof for that. He just says, even though you don't have a son.
Oh, yeah, why didn't he say it what's inside the assignment?
Right. Sefer Mitzvahs made more sense. That Zachor tells you by yourself. It doesn't say Zachor as same as Labincha.
Also, what's the Avamina that Chacham and
Yes, that is another question, right? Is that like, yeah, we don't say, for example, if you know the ideas in Kriya Shema, then you don't have to say it. You know, if you're a great Chacham, you don't have to say it. Actually, we do say that. No, I mean, yeah, bad example, but that's Torah Manasa, right? If you're at the level, I mean, it's not exactly the same, obviously, but yeah.
We just circle back to the thing that you said that you just corrected yourself with. So if you know it, you don't have to.
Oh, no. So you're talking Kriya Shema or
Yeah,
Havana?
Kriya
So
Shema.
there's this category called Torasa Umanaso, where if you learn Torah all the time,
Uh-huh.
and we're talking like, I think in the time of the Tanaim, there were still people like this.
Yeah.
I think in the Amraim also.
No, like Rebbe was.
Yeah, Rebbe. Yeah, so you're putter from lots of mitzvahs. So say, like
Saying Shema.
yeah, but I know tefillah, right? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi would only daven once a month.
Great.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
What?
He did say Shema because the Gemara is about saying the Shema, but I think I don't know which mitzvahs this is included in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but even that is different. That's not because of his knowledge. That's because of the precedence of Talmud Torah, seemingly, right? So
Right.
it is different. That's why I retracted. Yeah.
There's no like happening like
Right. Yeah, that's a better analogy, right? If you're a great chacham, then you don't need to remember Malay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, there's a fun thing in some of the Mefarshim on the Haggadah when in the Haggadah we say Afilu kulanu chachamim kulanu nevonim kulanu yonim v'Torah. Some of the Mefarshim take up the havminas for each one of those, which is a fun thing that we can do. Yeah, we'll probably get there on Wednesday night. Yeah, because that's pretty early on. That's in Avadim Hayinu. Okay. All right. Then he introduces a new thing. This is another perplexing thing. Halakha Beis. Mitzvah lahodia labanim. Vafilu l'shalo. It is a mitzvah. Now, is this another one of Taryag? Clearly not, because there's only one mitzvah here, which is Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, but it's a mitzvah to make known to the children, even though they didn't ask. Shenemar v'higad l'bincha, as it says, you shall tell your son, right? So that's what kind of mitzvah is this? Like, like, what does he mean by mitzvah? Which is weird. According to the son's mind, the father teaches him. And again, mind here is going to be Chachma level and psychological maturity level, I think. He says, Keita, if he's a minor or an idiot, all right, I don't know how you translate tipesh in, fool. Yeah. Omer lo, then the father says to him, Bini, my son, all of us were servants in Mitzrayim, like that maidservant, and he points rudely, and then and like this slave in Mitzrayim. And on this night, and on this night, God redeemed us and took us out to freedom. And if the son were older and wise, or old and wise, I don't know how you want to say it. Then you inform him of what happened in Mitzrayim and the miracles that were done for us through Moshe Rabbeinu, according to the mind of the son. Yeah, I always found it interesting here about like what the bare bones version of this mitzvah is, because you see that for the kid, like for the katan or the tibish, you don't mention nisim, which is really interesting. You don't mention Moshe Rabbeinu.
Right.
You just mentioned that God took us out. We were slaves and God took us out, and you point. Yeah, yeah.
You have to point to something.
I don't think you do. I assume that this is just an example. It's not like you're a putter if you don't have a shifta. Yeah. But yeah. I was talking with Rindy about this just recently because he was talking. His oldest kid is now old enough. She's 3, and I think like last year she was too young to understand. So he was going over with me how he does her chinuch, and he was saying how this year I guess she's very into boo-boos, like getting hurt. So he's trying to explain like God gave Paro 10 boo-boos,
Nice.
and like and that's like a very on her level type understanding. Boo-boo ajite se nach. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's also like it's weird that here is he's telling us how to do this mitzvah of Labanim.
Right.
He hasn't really told us the basics of Sipur yet, other than the introductory sentence. And the fact that you can tell the son who is a katan without mentioning the nisim and the flaws makes it sound like it is a separate mitzvah in a sense. Meaning, if you just tell the son this, you're not yotze your mitzvah Sipur because you haven't told about the nisim and the flaws yet.
Is that because you haven't told yourself about it?
It sounds like you haven't done the action of telling.
You have to tell.
Yeah, you have to tell, right? Whether it's yourself or someone else,
And you also have to relate it to yourself.
Exactly, yeah. And the Lafi Dato Ben thing, that is a component of the son thing. It's not like you have to make it to your own Das level, I don't think.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
The telling would have to be here.
But he doesn't say that here, right?
Okay.
In the Sefer Mitzvahs, he had said you do it according to your own eloquence,
Mhm.
but it's not like, let's say like a person, reads, I mean, it's a good question what it would be. I mean, it's just, there's no parallel requirement of the Das Atmaka, yeah. Okay, so then we get to V'tzarech lasos shinui b'layla hazeh. This is still involving the kids. You need to do deviations or changes on this night. Kadeshi yiru habanim v'yishalu v'yomru manishkana halal hazeh mikol halelos. In order that the kids should see and say, should ask. The kids should see and ask and say, manishkana halal hazeh mikol halelos. How is this night different from other nights, or how different is this night from all other nights? Until you respond to them, v'yomer lahem, and say to them, kach v'kach era v'kach v'kach haya. Such and such happened and such was. And then he gives examples.
He used that phrase before also.
Masha era masha haya, yeah, in the first halacha, right?
Or there's yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, in the kol marach b'dvarim she'eru v'shahayu.
Yeah. Like what? I guess it could just be like in puppets or.
Yeah. Well, in Sefer Mitzvahs, he was more specific. He said what the let me see if I still have a copy on me. I have it in this document here. What?
We couldn't possibly eat anymore.
Yeah, he had said it in the Sefer Mitzvahs. You have to talk about hamatzav, shiur hamatzav b'hagdalas masha asu banu. So the description of the scenario of the magnitude of what they did, meaning the Mitzrayim, but ivul sha'asu lanu Mitzrayim, and the injustice the Mitzrayim did, v'heach nipra lanu Hashem mehem, and how God took punishment on our behalf from them, uvahoda lo yisala ahanisim ala kol ha'chesed shekamanu. So he split it into 4 specifics there. So I assume that
the what they did to us.
what they did to us and like what God did for us to them, and what God did, and then thanking God.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like exactly two. The first two meaning what scenario we were in, then the evils that the Mitzrayim did to us, then how God took vengeance on our behalf, and then giving hodah to God. Yeah. Okay, but now what are these shinuyim? So he says, "V'keta mishana." How do you change? Not a human being. That's a much longer question. That's until the days. Yeah. You distribute to them roasted kernels and nuts. And you uproot the table from before them before they eat. Meaning because they had the TV table scenario, right? They had yeah. That would be nice.
I'm like more
Yeah.
that's how you do the same.
That was very cool.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of the tables that they had. They would have these beds.
Yeah.
They would put them in a square, the beds where the other people's feet are.
Oh, that's interesting
It's
because
like a Roman thing.
yeah, because there's that Gemara about how the Talmidim of one of the Amorim didn't have what did they lean on? They lean on each other's laps.
Oh, yeah.
And I always wondered what was the scenario, and I figured they must have been on some sort of bench couch type things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the advantage to do, or this is where you're supposed to do it, to have a low table and sit
Well, it's how they used to do it. I don't know about supposed to, but they used to each have their own personal tables, and then you would take away the table from them, which in order to get them to ask, you know, yeah. What was I gonna say there? What was that?
Nothing.
Where are we? Oh yeah, v'chotin matzahs emiyadzeh, and they would. So literally, this is they would snatch matzahs from each other's hand. I was just looking into that today. That it's a big question what that meant. I mean, does it mean you take away the matzah from them? Does it mean that some people say it means that you throw it? Some people say it means that you break it. Some people want to say that this is like the origin of yachatz. It's apparently very unknown, like what this. Like Gemara says chotfin. I don't know if it's the Gemara or the Mishnah chotfin. But unknown what that meant exactly. I think to snatch or to take away. Chataf, like what's the chataf in grammar? Particular people.
I don't know.
Yeah. Let me see what chataf is.
Wait, so these are some key for the Rambam Bekius, right?
Yeah. So you can do whatever you want,
There's no
as long as
reason
it's a
to do
change.
these things.
Say again.
Like, there's no reason to do these things.
Not these things specifically, yeah.
Not, you know, so you don't need to physically take in the table.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh wait. Yeah. Yeah, like we read the Ritva would, or the Ritva says that the Ramban would tell the waiter to take away food and say we've already eaten, you know, enough. Yeah.
What? Right. I guess we had a TV table, so that'd be pretty weird. They would have asked about
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean maybe that should be your change.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Why does it have to be a TV table? Why can't it just be like a small little table? Like,
Yeah, I suppose they used to not on TV tables. I think
makes
that's
it
a
a
fair
TV
assumption.
table, like.
Yeah.
Because you eat it while you watch TV. You eat steak.
You're not watching TV.
Yeah, it says snatching. That's the only. Oh, here we go. Snatch, grab, abduct, kidnap, hijack. You gotta hijack the matzahs. Yeah.
It sounds like the origin of hiding
Right. Oh, that some people do say that this is about the afikomen. That's how.
That would make sense.
Yeah. But it sounds like that's not posthumous. That's the wrong word. Yeah, post hoc justification of the. Because after 4 there was because. Yeah.
I think afterwards, therefore, like cause or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Wait, how did it start that?
How is it what?
How did you supposed to have the aftercoming thing?
I think because it was not originally the minhag to steal the afikomen, and then once it became the minhag, then people said, "Oh, that's what the Gemara meant when it said chotfin," but not that actually caused people to steal the afikomen. That's what I've heard. I don't know for sure though.
What do you think it caused the midnight?
Wait, what's
What was that?
What do you think caused the midnight?
I don't know. I don't know. I've also heard that I've post hoc ergo propter hoc. Yeah.
PROPTER.
All right, we gotta settle this. Hold on.
Wait, what do those words mean? What are you saying?
We're doing kishuf. It's spelled post hoc. I'll tell you in a second. All right. Post hoc ergo propter hoc means after this, therefore because of this.
wow?
That's what I was saying before. And it is the fallacy that is because one event followed the other, then that event caused this. Or like causation and correlation does not equal causation. Just because 2 things happen at the same time doesn't mean that one caused the other. Yeah. Yeah. That was quite a. I would say that this discussion was caused by this, but yeah.
I'm not taking any culpability for it.
I think you should.
Yeah.
You said it.
So propter hoc is good if you. Never mind, sorry.
Okay. Okay.
We have Latin class another time.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So you make these changes to get the kids to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ein lo bain. Oh, here's where he goes to what you do. If you don't have a son, ishto sha'alto, then his wife asks him. Ein lo isha. If he doesn't have a wife, sholin zeh, then they ask each other, manishtana halayla zeh. Vafilu kulan chachamim. So again, he mentions that here again, even if they're all chachamim. Hay levado, if he's by himself, shoa la'atzmo manishtana halayla zeh. Then he asks himself, how different is this night from other nights?
Is that saying that the less like knowledgeable one should ask the more knowledgeable.
Yes, I remember Rabbi Chait explained that that basically this hierarchy here of ideal is son, then wife, then contemporaries, and then like yourself, is that it has to be, I think the way he said it is it's in the form of the like Masorah. So the ideal form of the Masorah is someone without knowledge asking and receiving from someone with knowledge as part of the Mitzvah of Talmud Torah. If you don't have that full form, then you have your wife asking you. So presumably if she doesn't have the knowledge and you do, but there's no Mitzvah of Talmud Torah there, you know? And then if you don't have that, then you have your friends where you just have it in, you have a dialogue, but not necessarily from one who has knowledge and one who doesn't have knowledge.
Wouldn't the wife be worse than that because there's no mitzvah? But they're.
I think because it still is conveying knowledge to someone who doesn't have it. Whereas with your friends, it's not like that, you know? And then if you don't have that, then you at least have the form of Masorah, which is questions and answers. You know, that's how Rebbe explained it once. But again, all these things when Rebbe explains these, like that was the 1979 version. I'm sure he's had like different, you know, different stuff since then. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what's interesting is that I would have split up the halachos if I were a publisher that made my own things. I would split the halachos as so Gimel is Sarach Lasos Shinoi B'Layla Zeh, and I would put the Ketzad there, and then had this thing of Ein Lo Bein as a separate halacha, right? Because plain thought, you don't have to make changes if you don't have kids. You don't have to make a change that your wife says, "What are you doing?" Like, you know, right? It's just Kadesha Yiru Habanim, V'Yishlu V'Yomru. You know, you don't have to make changes for yourself. Like, what am I doing? You know, snatch the matzah away from yourself. You know.
I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. So it is weird that he puts the halacha and the ketzad in two separate paragraphs, and then the ketzad and this thing about the hierarchy in another paragraph, in the same paragraph is the ketzad. Yeah.
And we're sure the paragraphs are from the wrong.
100%. I would stake my life on it. Yeah.
I'll take it now.
Yes. Yeah.
When did that come?
Yesterday, yeah.
I missed it.
I was sent it in the chat.
Yeah. We gotta. Did you miss this or you got this?
I don't get a lot of things.
Yeah. So we have to talk about this because there's Isser to eat matzah on Erev Pesach,
Right.
and the real Rambams say. We have to demonstrate. This is very important.
What's going on? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Mita achal matzah Erev Pesach, makin oso makas mardus, period in this edition. Okay, yeah. So if you eat matzah Erev Pesach, then you get makas mardus. The Doofus versions say Mita achal matzah Erev Pesach, makin oso makas mardus ad shetete nafsho. You beat him until his soul departs, which is, in my opinion, the worst mangling of any text ever, because we don't do this. We don't beat people to the soul departs. Not midoraisa, not midorabanan. So that's the inside joke. Now you're inside. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, can you just say that? I mean, it's obviously like a really bad way of wording it. But
Yes. Yeah.
like, is it possible that he's just saying like he gets magos, but just instead of saying that, he's just saying it like that? That's a horrible way of wording it. Or there's no way that can't be.
There's like a whole thing by
I don't think it could
Max that you're like it's
Like Malchus de
the
Oraisa.
Max
even.
is specifically not into like
No, I know, not in the one of you do that. Like in certain situations when you do it and stuff like that.
No, it says in the pasuk, doesn't it?
Yeah, no,
Lest you strike him a mortal blow.
yeah.
No, but he's saying it's worse for
No, I'm saying it's not as a word.
Yeah,
Oh, it's worse.
I thought that was like the whole point of that.
I don't know.
I don't.
But either way, you never kill them.
Yeah,
Well,
and
then
then
also
also
the doofus translation.
Yeah.
yeah, also like it's like that this is about is like it's a comments. And then and that
It's not even comments.
no, I'm saying comments is kares, and this is like
Oh yeah.
and this is just about matzah.
Yeah, this is just having an appetite for matzah. Yeah.
Yeah, having
Or making an effort for matzah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's having matzah before Pesach.
Yeah, the
you're not
Erev
allowed
Pesach.
matzah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not allowed to have matzah on Erev Pesach, and if you do, you get Marcus Marcos.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
for real.
In every Rambam, you get Marcus.
Yes.
But not our states.
Just the
I
way
heard
it's down.
that, you know, the thing that isn't having not though.
Yeah, where else does it say Marcus Marcus? Because it's
A lot of states.
You mean where else do you get most martyrs in
Yeah.
general?
No,
No, I-
does it have the same mistake in other places?
I'm not gonna.
Oh no, I think it's just that one.
Are you
Oh,
sure?
yeah.
I think so.
I
You can look. I mean, we can look later. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's oof. Yeah. I mean, we should, for the sake of like, historical curiosity, look at what Kafka says about how that mistake got in there, because I am very curious.
Does he talk about that?
He usually, I think he usually does note it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We're at Dalit now.
Yeah.
Okay. But sorry. Lahaskil bignus ulasayim b'shava. One needs to begin with degradation and to end with praise. Ketzad. How so? Maskil umasaper shebatchila hayu avosenu b'mei terach umilfanav kofrin v'toin achrei hahevel v'rodfin avodah zarah. So one begins and tells that in the beginning, our fathers, in the days of Terach and before him, so Terach meaning the father of Abraham, were deniers, and they erred after nothingness, and they chased idolatry. Let me just finish reading first, Isaac. And we conclude with the true religion, the true system, whatever. That God brought us close to. Does yours say la or lo? La. Okay, yeah, because I think I've seen others that say lo. Whether God brought us close to Him or to it. So this is the it. And He separated us from the strayers. The kirvana liyichuda, and He brought us close to His oneness. The pain, and likewise, maskil umodia sha'avadim hayinu lefara b'mitzrayim. We begin and make known that we were slaves to Paro in Mitzrayim, b'chol hara shegamalunu, and all of the evil that they retributized us. they I don't want to say bestow. That sounds for good stuff. They did us. Umasayim b'nisim b'niflav shenasu lanu uvacherusein, and we conclude with the miracles and wonders that were done for us and with our freedom. V'hu, and that is. We do this by Yidrosh, by expounding me Arami Ovid Avi from the pasuk Arami Ovid Avi Ad Yigmor Kol HaParsha, until we complete the entire parsha. And anyone who adds onto and prolongs in this exposition is praiseworthy. Yeah, a lot of stuff here. What?
No, second question.
Yeah.
First question was when it says Kofrin.
Yes. Presumably it's from the Iker.
Yeah, isn't Kofrin that you know the Iker and then you deny it?
No, because anyone who's Mala Badato Shisham, I think, doesn't he say anyone who holds that there's another God is a Kofer?
Not in. I thought Kofer was not denying Torah.
That's Kofer B'Torah.
Kofer Torah.
Yeah, but doesn't
Isn't that a min though?
he says the Mitzvah Hashem.
I thought that was a min.
No, min is min is if you have a false idea about God, but here he says, I'm saying it by lo yeh. He says, "V'yidiyas tever is in Yisrael Torah 1:6. V'yidiyas tever mitzvah today Shnemar Anochi Hashem. V'kol hamala al dato sheisham Eloah acher chutz mizeh aver b'lo taseh. Shnemar lo yelcha elohim acherim upon it v'kafar be'ikar.
Yeah.
Who ikar gadol shel talei ba. Yeah. So I assume he means kafar be'ikar here.
Right.
And it's not dependent on knowing it and rejecting it. It's anyone who believes in another God.
But wait, I'm not wrong though. In halachos right? He says that min. If you have any wrong idea about?
Min is if you have one of those 5 ideas wrong about God, right? Either he doesn't exist, or that he's more than one, or that he has a body, or that he's outside, or that he's in time. So it's interesting, right? Because the 5th one is who worships another being as an intermediary. I don't think you are a min if you believe in another God, strangely enough. If you believe that there are 2 gods, well, I guess it depends. If you believe there are 2 gods, then that's a min, right? Here's an nafkamina. Like, let's say you hold that there's God and that there are sub-deities, and you don't worship the sub-deities. Would it be a min or not?
That would not be.
That would not be a min,
Really?
right? Would it be a kofar? I'm not sure.
Yeah, what would it be?
Right, because he says if you believe that there is another God besides this, so it sounds like you'd be a kofar if you believed in another God.
Well, you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, again, well, this depends on, it's kind of a technical question, but it depends on whether you say that when in the second category of min, where you believe in two gods,
Mhm.
does that mean like
To equal.
two equal gods, or does that mean like even Hashem as the supreme being like a subdeity?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Because but the Mitzrayim, I think, had that second.
Yeah, I think so.
So that might.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called subdeity, but we don't worship the subdeity, the sun.
Ah, right.
It's like based on
the
Yeah.
supreme-
Yeah. Tshuva is only if you worship it.
They worship the sub-deities.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's still current. Yeah, what was your second question?
Yeah.
I have a question.
So this is a Haris and Meshubach separate from the other one.
Yes, this is the more Yudarshan
Yeah.
from around the Ovid Avi, and it's also Motzif Umari.
Another
Right.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the first one then?
The first one is in Sipur. This is in Maskil Begnut Umasayim B'Shavach through Drasha. And that's the weird thing also, is that he rolled all this into one halacha, meaning that
I'm just trying to like a guideline that like you can use or you're not, you know, say.
that's this question here is what is the relationship between this halacha of Maskil Begnut Umasayim B'Shavach and Sipur? Like, is this the way you're doing Sipur, or is it a separate kiyum? You know, like when you let's say you told the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, okay, in your own way. And let's say you started at the end because that's your favorite part, okay, and you didn't do Maskil Begnut Umasayim B'Shavach. So are you failing to fulfill the mitzvah d'oraisa of Sipur, or are you fulfilling the mitzvah but then you just didn't do the halacha of Maskil Begnut Umasayim B'Shavach?
Right.
Yeah. Just like certainly by the mitzvah l'hodei labanim, we don't say that that's ma'akev your sipur. Like if you're by yourself, you're losing out on the mitzvah of telling your sons, but you fulfill the mitzvah of sipur. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
In that case, you're just right. Never mind. You're pucker in that case.
The mitzvah l'hodei labanim. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Also, why is this not so? I think it's art from like
Yeah.
I think that it's art of
You mean what? Why are we?
Why are we going all the way back?
Yeah. Right. So
Halachos.
yeah. So the machlokes Rav and Shmuel in the Gemara about it's funny. The machlokes is only stated in terms of what the gnus is. It doesn't say what the shavach is. So it says, is the gnus ovdi avodah zara hayu avosenu, or is it avadim hayinu? So it's a legitimate question what the machlokes is, and then the Rambam indicates that we paskin like both, right?
Yeah.
But then the question also is like, how can you can't start twice? I mean, that's just plain shot question. You can't start twice. You're starting your sipur at one point, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're saying you're two different.
But he does say you start twice.
Wait, why don't we just hold?
Yeah, you said first you were algorithm and then first you were and then
Yeah, but that's your start.
yeah, and then you finish that like it's like two separate things. But you don't say that and you finish the time and then now we're it's and first you were and then you were retired and that home whatever. Right?
Okay, go on.
That's one thing, and
Yeah.
then the second thing on it and like the actual society.
Yeah, okay, it's possible. One of the questions we're gonna have to do when we look at the Haggadah is see where this plays out, because we know where it starts. We know that we have a paragraph that says Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah Hayoseno, and we have a paragraph that says Avadim Hayinu. But where do we talk about Messiah B'das HaEmes Shekirvana HaKadosh Baruch Hu La V'hiv Dilanu Minatoim B'Kirvana Liyichudo? Where do we talk about that in Haggadah? You know, we definitely talk about Cheres. That's one. But I guess the question is, where do we end this Mitchila Ovdei Avodah Zarah?
Right.
But you know why we can't say that, right?
It's not wrong.
Not in the wrong Haggadah. Yeah.
Also,
Doesn't have it.
I was saying that at the beginning of the first thing.
Good.
Is that totally both or is that one going on in the second?
I think that is not going on both. I think that is
No,
because he's saying we made terach and milfani.
So Rabbi Yogan is not on the second.
Yeah, it seems to be part of the second one. And when this is the other question, when he says v'hu sheyidrosh, doesn't that sound? I've asked this before, and people have said different things, but doesn't that sound that the Arami Ovid Avi is only part of the second shita? Because he says וכן מסחי ומודיע השבנים היו לפר במצרים בכל ראש ולבלנה ומסיים בניסים ונבלה שנה והוא שידרוש מארמי עובד-אבי.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, I don't think it's going on Terach because Arami Ovadavi is about Yaakov.
Right.
And even if you say it's about Abraham, which I think there's some people who say that's not about Terach, you know,
Yeah.
and before him. Yeah. Oh my, I forgot to set my alarm. I gotta go. I also didn't drive here, so I gotta walk home. So we can talk on the way out, but
I was just gonna say that, like, you could have set it up in a way where you,
Yeah.